Hi and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're doing another tier list. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know how much you love them. So today we'll be ranking the best Serie A player from each of the 20 Serie A clubs. So the best player from each club, ranked 1 to 20, we'll be trying to do it. And as always, let me know in the comment section what you think. How I've done it is I've nominated who I think the best player from each of the 20 Serie A clubs are, and I'm going to rank them. But as always, this isn't the correct list. This is my list. Let me know in the comment section anything you changed, because I'm sure we're going to disagree as we always do. It's football. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're so close to 10k subs. Like the video, share it with some friends, and without further ado, let's get into the tier list. So as you can see, these are the 20 names I have gone for. I think these guys are the best, or have a right to be considered the best for each of the clubs. But let's start with AC Milan, and I've gone for Luca Modric. Some might put Rafa Leao, but for me, he's not healthy enough to be considered as the best. I think what I've seen from Luca Modric so far this season, he's their most important player. I do think that Luka Modric is the best midfielder in the league. I think he showcased this in the first 5 Serie A games. He's easily Milan's most integral part. He turns up in big moments. He covers so much ground. He's good defensively. Obviously, he's electric offensively. He's the glue. He glues the whole ship together, the defense and the attack. He's the equator almost. That's the best comparison I can use. The equator between the offense, the northern hemisphere, yes, and the defense, which is the southern hemisphere. Maybe I haven't done geography in a while, but you know what I'm talking about. Luka's one of the best players in the league. He's got to be up there. I think you can consider him to be the best footballer in the league. If you're doing their whole career, of course he's number one. I mean, there's no debate there. But we're doing currently, I think he's up there. Is he number one? Not for me. But if you were to say he's number one, I don't think that's ridiculous to say that. For now, I'm going to put him second to fifth. Moving on to the second club, which is Napoli, I've nominated Scott McTominay. Yes, you could go Kevin De Bruyne. I think throughout their whole career, it's obviously De Bruyne, and I still think he has world-class traits. But in my opinion, what Scott did for them last year, I think it's a bit disrespectful to say he's not Napoli's best player. He was the main reason, I would say, in terms of the players, why they were so successful last year. I do think Conte is the overlying reason. I think he was the reason that they won the Scudetto. Without Conte, I don't think they would have. But I think Scott McTominay was the most important player on the pitch for Napoli last season. I look at this year. Has he started the season off so well? No. I think he doesn't suit that left midfield role. And I almost think that Kevin De Bruyne, yes, you're adding a great name to the midfield, but the balance is kind of skewed. I think you're playing Scott in an unnatural position, and I don't think it's helping Napoli at all. So I'm looking at the situation, I'm thinking, I still believe Scott is the best player at Napoli. MVP of the Serie A last year, I think we've got to show more respect. But if you were to say De Bruyne is the best, I kind of hear it. But for what he's done for the club, I got to go Scott McTominay. Again, great midfielder, one of the best in the league. I'm looking at these names, he's easily up there. I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's world class. I don't think Kevin De Bruyne is world class anymore, though, to be honest. I'm going to put him in the same category as Luka Modric. I don't think he's as good as Luka, of course, but I think from what he did last season, I still think he'll have a good season regardless. I think Conte will understand that playing him out wide isn't benefiting Napoli, and I think he's going to adjust the system very soon. So I'm going to put him second to fifth. Cremonese's best player for me is Baschirotto, and I think that a lot of people would agree. He's had a great start to the season, goal-scoring centre-half, physically so imposing. This guy genuinely could be in like Mr. Olympia or something. He's a bodybuilder, yet really, really good defender. I really rate Baschirotto. I think his journey is almost noble as a footballer, the way he climbed the Italian ladder. As of now, he's one of the best defenders in the Serie A. If you're going first 5 games, boys, let's be real, he's in the team of the season. He's been excellent, so we got to pay respect there. Is he a top 10 out of these names? I'm going to put him in the 11th to 15th category for now. Moving on to Juventus' best player for me is Kenan Yildiz, and I think the whole world can agree. I don't only think that Kenan Yildiz is the best Juventus player. I think he's the best player in the league right now. I think he's the second best youngster in the world behind Lamine Yamal. I think this guy has the world at his feet. I look at him, he's brave, he's courageous, he's got great feet, he's quick, he's a versatile attacker. He can play centrally, he can play out wide, he can drift around. He's a creative outlet. He's our main goal-scoring threat as well. He turns up in big moments. He wants the ball at his feet. It's so refreshing to see a footballer who constantly wants the ball regardless of the position he's in. For me, they're the kind of players that differentiate themselves from the rest, from the norm, from the crowd. You know, they set themselves apart. When times are hard, in times of struggle, Kenan wants the ball at his feet because he knows, I can win this game for the club. I can get the 3 points. I can create something, and that's what he is. I think so far this season, we're looking at one of the most informed players in Europe. Obviously, in terms of like what he's achieved, obviously, I'm not going to put him above Modric all time. But I think right now in the Serie A, I do think Kenan Yildiz is the best player, the biggest talent. and I'm going to have him number 1. However, I understand that a lot of people are like, we need to still give him time. For me, when you see brilliance, you see brilliance, and I see a world-class footballer there. I think with Lamine Yamal as well, we weren't saying, oh, he needs time to be considered arguably the best player in the world. No. You see what you see. And what I've seen with Kenan is stardom. It's brilliance. It's world-class ability. So for me, he's the best player in the league. Will he win MVP at the end of the year? It depends how good Juventus do. I think it's mostly given to whoever wins the Scudetto, but I think categorically he's the best football player in Italy right now. For Lazio, it was a bit of a tough one. There are some good players in the Lazio team. Guendouzi's good. Zaccagni on his day. I think Pedro, in terms of like his consistency in the league in the last 5 years, has been super impressive. But I've gone with Rovella. I think Rovella is one of the best sixes in the country. I'm very upset that we let him go for the little fee that we did let him go at the time. I feel like he could have been a useful asset to Juventus, and I was against that transfer. And I think he's gelled really well for Lazio. And I think he offers a lot to them in the midfield. Rovella is a very intelligent footballer, quite press resistant, good defensively, has good feet. So for me, Rovella is Lazio's best player. I'm looking at 6 to 10 for now, but he's a very good midfielder. For Sassuolo, really, it's a 50-50. Let's be honest. I like Tariq Muhamerovic. I think he's a good young defender, and I think he'll grow. And I'm quite upset that Juventus let him go. I would have probably loaned him, but I believe we have sold him outright. For me, it's a 50-50 between Lauriente and Berardi. I know Lauriente won MVP of the Serie B last season. I think he's got 1 goal, 1 assist this season so far, but I think Berardi is the main man at Sassuolo still. He's only 31, which is old, I guess, but it's not really old for a Serie A player. I mean, Modric is 40 doing it in the Serie A. Berardi is Serie A proven. When you think about Serie A ballers in the last, 7-8 years, Berardi should be one of the first names that comes to mind. This guy's like, you remember the whole Barclays men trend on TikTok and Twitter? This guy is the Serie A man. He's one of the most Serie A footballers of all time. I really like Berardi. I think he's a really underrated winger. He's a bully of the big boys. He always scores in big games. He's consistent. It's a shame he never made that jump up to a massive Serie A club, but at the same time, he's a legend for Sassuolo. I respect it. I actually met him in a toilet once in a restaurant in Modena when I was 11. I remember, it's kind of a weird story, but I'll tell it anyway. I don't really care. I've spotted him. This is a really strange story, actually. Anyway, I'm then washing my hands next to him. I say to him in Italian, ma tu giochi a pallone, but you play football. And he's like, sì. I was like, okay. And then my dad got a picture with him after because I told my dad, that was Berardi in the toilet. And he was like, you get a picture. He's like, it was a bit weird. I met him in the toilet. I didn't really want to disturb him. But I did meet Berardi, great guy and a great player. For me, 6 to 10. For Genoa, I've gone with Frendrup. There's not really many options here. Maybe a Malinovsky. He's a bit old now. I believe he's 32. But Frendrup, the 24-year-old Danish midfielder, is a very, very good number 6. And I think he can make that step up to a bigger Serie A club. I see him at maybe a Roma. They were linked to him in the summer. Potentially move to the Premier League. I think his level is a bit above Genoa. I think Genoa will be battling relegation. I see it as a very tough season for them. Currently 19th. But I think Frendrup is a good player. I think he's got a big ceiling. I like him a lot. I'm going to put him in the 11th to 15th category for now. I don't really want to drop him down. I feel like that's a fair position for him. Moving on to Inter's man Bastoni. I've gone for Bastoni, but here it's tough. There's a lot of good options for Inter. Di Marco is great in his position. Thuram, Lautaro. I think maybe on paper most would probably say Lautaro, but I think Bastoni is a top 5 centre-half in the world. I just think he gets into most teams in the world. If you're talking about left-footed centre-backs, who's better than him? Maybe a Gabriel. I'd probably take Gabriel right now, I'll be honest. But he's still up there regardless. He can talk to Saliba, Gabriel, Van Dijk. I don't think he's on the same level as those three, for example, but I'd probably put him 4th in terms of best centre-halves in world football. He's great technically. He's got consistency and longevity in the Serie A. He's been a great defender now for 4 or 5 years. He's great in the tackle. He's good in the air. He gets the odd goal as well. I think Bastoni is a great defender. I think he's world class. I do think he's world class. I think that term is very lackluster in the Serie A. I don't think there's a lot of world class players compared to the Premier League, for example. But I think one nailed on world class player in the league for me is Alessandro Bastoni. But for me, he's going straight into this 2 to 5 category. And we only got one more spot there. Moving on to Pisa. I've gone with Enzola. And the thing is with Pisa is they're definitely going to get relegated for me. I don't really think there's much chance of them surviving. They don't really have too many standout players. They've got some good names that have had great careers. I think there's Albiol there, Cuadrado, who is the main man in terms of fame and experience almost. But I think that Enzola I've gone for because of the consistency in the last few years in Serie A, being a certified bagsman for Spezia, for Fiorentina, And I think if there's any chance of surviving, they need this man in form. I think he's a decent striker. I think he's dropped off, obviously, in the last few years. I believe his peak was like 22, 23, a good few seasons ago now. But he's probably their best option. But Pisa are lacking in terms of quality. I'm going to put him in the bottom category. For Parma now, couple options. It was a tough one, really, for Parma. I've gone with Del Prato, personally. I do think they have some good little players in there. But Del Prato, every time I've watched Parma, he's looked so comfortable in defence. He's the leader of that team. Obviously, he is the captain, but he marshals not only the whole defence, but the whole team. And he turns up at big games, big moments. Every time he plays against Juventus, he looks like the best player on the pitch for them, and arguably the best player on the pitch out of the 22 names available. He's a player that I would love to have at Juventus. Honestly, I think he's great. 25 years of age. But I think even like last season, someone like Leone, they developed and improved so much because they were next to Del Prato. They learned from him. And he's not the oldest player, but he's got experience. And I think Del Prato gets into quite a lot of Serie A teams. And I'm surprised no one really picked him up this summer, if I'm being honest. Maybe Parma didn't want to lose him and Leone. It would have really, really hindered them. But I think next year he could get a big move to a bigger club in Italy. And I'm a big fan of Del Prato. I do think he's better than Baschirotto, for example. And I'm really tempted to put him in this sort of category for now. But he might get dropped down one, but I'm going to put him in that 6th to 10th for now. I think he's a great defender and I would love him at Juventus. Another great footballer for me is this man here, Matthias Süle. I think he has world-class potential. I look at this guy, he's technically gifted. He's got a wand of a left foot. Great first touch. He's improving on his finishing. He's a good, very, very, very good dead ball specialist. Scored a great free kick the other day. I think he is Roma's best player. I think it's really him and Kone leading the lines. But I look at Sule's technical ability and I just think, yeah, he's another level. He's almost like that raw talent you can see in Kenan. I think they're similar in that regard. I do think Kenan is quite a few levels above Sule, but I think that raw ability is there. And I don't really see Sule staying too long in the Serie A, unfortunately. I do see him moving to the Premier League very soon. I even like an Atletico Madrid. I feel like he's an Atletico Madrid player, Tottenham kind of player. But I really like him. It's a tough one where I'm going to rank him because I think I'm going to have him just outside the top 5. I think we're going to have him in that 6th position, sort of. But I think he's flirting with the second category, just outside. I do think if he has a great season this year, we could potentially be looking at a higher position. But I got another name that I think is sort of categorically above him. Moving on now, we got Moise Kean, who is fantastic. Moise Kean is fantastic. I think he's one of the best strikers in the league. His redemption arc last year was absolutely beautiful to watch. As a Juventus fan, I always liked Moise Kean ever since he burst onto the scene in the 18-19 season. We sold him to Everton. I was upset at the time. I didn't really understand it. He didn't get game time in England. He moved to PSG, had spells there, looked sharp. Came back to Juventus, was on and off, very hit and miss, had some injury problems, inconsistent. But I was very happy that he was almost reborn last season. How many goals did he score? Like 18, 19 league goals? I don't remember exactly. But he was up there for the Capocannoniere. And this season, Fiorentina have started really poorly. They're winless in their first 5. But Moise Kean, for me, is their best player. And I think Moise Kean is great. I'm going to put him here, but I'm already looking at the situation and I'm going to have to lower Del Prato because I've just seen ahead. But I am going to put Moise Kean as a top 10. Moving on now, a great player. We got Ademola Lookman. I think it's quite sad for Ademola because this summer, did Atalanta fail him? Question mark. I ask you guys this because I understand that he wanted to leave the club. I understand that he wanted to make that jump and there was links with Inter, of course. The two parties couldn't agree on a fixed fee. I think it was around the 50 million mark, which I think is justified considering how good he's been over the last few years. Hat-trick in the Europa League final, one of the best individual performances in the modern era. Full stop from a footballer. And his numbers are impressive. He's developed his game massively under Gasperini. Of course, this year we haven't seen him play really at all with Juric because the Atalanta board and him had a disagreement. They froze him out. They want to teach him a lesson, this, that and the other. And I understand both sides to the coin almost. I feel like I think footballers in the 21st century or 2025, let's say in modern times, they have too much power. Even the whole Isak situation when he was refusing to train, I felt like that was disrespectful towards Newcastle and the fans. I don't like it when players do that. I really don't. But I do feel for Lookman because I still think he's one of the best players in the league. Are we going to see much of him this season? I think logically, the answer should be yes, because I feel like if we don't see much of him, his market value is only going to tank and Atalanta won't benefit from that financially and other teams will come in and swoop him in either in January or the summer. I reckon he could potentially leave in January for 40, 45, maybe around that 50 mark. But I still think he's a top 10. I got him up here. What he's done over the last few years, I think it's nothing short of impressionable. I think it is between him and I would say Ederson at Atalanta, but I think Lookman is their best player. Moving on to Como now, and we got Nico Paz. I think this one is a no-brainer. 3 man of the match awards in 5 games. His goal scoring ability for an 8 is ridiculous. Dead ball specialist, technically so gifted, 2-footed, super intelligent. Him on the half turn is a joy to watch. His final pass is of the highest standard. This guy here is one of the best footballers in the league, full stop. And I think he's a top 2 midfielder in the league as well, alongside Luca Modric, I do. This guy's a joke. And Real Madrid have that buyback option. It's a shame, really, because, well, Real Madrid are getting all the best players in the world, but Nico Paz is a Real Madrid player. He's a Galactico, let's be honest. He's one of the best players, I think, right now in the Serie A, as I said, and I think he's one of the best midfielders in Europe, and there's not many teams he doesn't walk into. This guy's destined for greatness. He's just phenomenal. He's like the most non-Spanish midfielder. I know he's Argentine, but he just reminds me of a classical Spanish midfielder, almost like an Iniesta with his technical ability. And the reason why I was so hesitant in putting Sule in that top 5 is because I knew Nico Paz was coming up. And obviously we'll do the ranking and whatnot, but he's concrete in there. He's one of the best players in the league. He won MVP Young Player last year, and I think it was deserved. Moving on to Torino now, and to be honest, this was a tough one. Torino haven't been great so far this season. They got a couple good names, Cazadei, who's young, Vlasic, who's young, but I kind of look at their situation and I think Torino are lacking in the goal scoring regard, and I think that Duvan Zapata is their best striker. I prefer Zapata still over Che Adams, and I don't think he's had a lot of game time this season, so if you're going off this season, yeah, obviously not, but I think he is still the biggest name at the club. I think he's their main gun man. After that injury, we haven't seen the same Zapata, but I still think he's a good striker. Not the same as he once was, but Torino, they don't have any standout footballers in my opinion. Moving on to Udinese, and again, just lack of superstar talent there. I've put Zaniolo. I think he's started pretty decently. He's got a goal ready for Udinese, but I think he's the main man. I think in terms of names, in terms of who you expect to reach good heights for Udinese this season, you're kind of looking at Zaniolo as this has to be a revival career for you. This has to be a revival season like Moise Kean's was last year at Fiorentina. You have to take the season by the scruff of the neck. You need to be the leader in this Udinese team. You need to prove to the whole of Italy, to yourself as well, that you are still the player that you could have become. Obviously, you've had 2 ACL tears, which is super unfortunate, and we never saw the real Nicolo Zaniolo. Will we see him? Question mark. That's the thing. Will we? I don't know. I don't think we will. But I think at Udinese, you can still have a good season. And in my opinion, if I could have any Udinese player, I think it's between Camara, who's a very good defender, and Zaniolo. But for me, Zaniolo is the main man in that team, despite him signing this season. Where will I rank him? He's probably still down there, I'm not going to lie. But I got him here for now, 16 to 20, I know. I mean, we just haven't seen enough of Zaniolo over the last few years. Moving on to Verona now, I've gone with Orban. I watched him against Juventus, and as much as I really disliked the guy because he should have been sent off for the elbow on Gatti, he scored the penalty. He just looked like a nuisance the whole game. He looked like a player that you would love to have on your team, but hate to play against. Almost like a Cuadrado in that sense. Like, I loved having Cuadrado on my team, but I was like, if I was an opposition fan, my goodness, he would do my head in. And Orban was that. He was very strong. He had good feet. He was just an electron. He was running everywhere. Just so much energy. He was a human Lucozade bottle. And I think if Verona stand a chance of surviving this year, it's going to be mostly due to the fact of their new signing being Orban. I look at him and I think he's a tricky player. And just from one game alone, watching him against Juventus, I was like, you know what? This guy, he's a good player. He's annoying to play against. He should have only played 45 minutes, but fair play. You're a good player. I'm going to have him in 11th to 15th for now. Moving on to Bologna's man, Orsolini. Because it's kind of full right now, the 6th to 10th. But for me, Orsolini is one of the best wingers in the Serie A. He's Serie A proven. He's been doing this for a long, long time now. Season upon season, leading goal scoring tallies, leading assisting tallies. He's their main threat. He's a great winger. I think he deserves more game time for the national team as well. A lot of players have come and go. Calafiori's come and gone. You have loads of players. Salamakers went. I still think Orsolini is the main man. After Ferguson's ACL tear, he's not the same player. I'm looking at Orsolini. I'm like, he's Bologna's man. And I think the fans would agree. I think the whole world would almost agree that Orsolini is leading the lines. I think he's a great winger. I wish he kind of made the jump up in his career from Bologna, no disrespect. Obviously, he was at Juventus in his youth days. But I do think his level is a little bit high. And I still think there's time in his career. He's still... How old is Orsolini? Let me look it up. Orsolini age. I believe he's like 29. Okay, 28. He's still... That's like prime years for Orsolini. Will he make a jump in his career? Will he leave Bologna, potentially go to a bigger club in Italy or abroad? I could see him at AC Milan, for example. I don't know why. I could just see him in that kit because it's similar colours to Bologna. But I think he's a great player. I'm going to have to put him here now, but I think he can make a jump up. I do. I think we're going to reevaluate at the end. Moving on to Cagliari now. I've gone with Caprile, the goalie. I think Yerry Mina, there's some decent options. They're not like stardom level as a lot of these other clubs. I think Caprile is a strong goalkeeper. I think he will, within a few years, go to a bigger club. Obviously, was at Napoli, was in the Premier League as well for Leeds. But I think Caprile is a good goalkeeper. Is he elite? Of course not. Can he become that? I don't think he has elite level capabilities, but I think he's a good keeper. And I think he's one of those Serie A keepers that we've seen time and time again, who's just consistent throughout his career in the league. I'm going to put him here for now, though. And lastly, for Lecce, I've gone with Camarda. I think it's between him and Sotil. But I just think Camarda's talent and his ceiling kind of sets them apart. Obviously, scored the other day. Ibra dedicated a whole, well, it was a beautiful post on Instagram to him. And I think Camarda, we're going to see a lot from him this year. I know this might sound like far-fetched because of his age, but I think he'll score 10 league goals. I think minimum 10 Serie A goals, and I think that will be a massive, massive number for him. And I think when he returns to AC Milan, that's when we're really going to see him level up and become a world-class striker. I think he has world-class capabilities, and for me, he's going to be leading the lines for the national team. However, Camarda is still very young. He's very raw, so I can't put him above this category. This is the ranking so far. Now we're going to nitpick, change some around, change the ordering. Modric second, I'm happy with. I'd go Bastoni over McTominay. I would go Paz over McTominay as well. I think, in terms of talent, Sule is a more talented player than McTominay. But I think after what he did last season, I got to pay respect and have him there. I just think Paz is a better midfielder. Genuinely, like, if you were to say, who would you rather have in your team? I'm taking Nico Paz 1,000,000% over Scott McTominay. 6 to 10, I think Orsolini could be bumped up for Rovella. I do like Rovella. No, actually, I think I'm going to drop Berardi because they're more comparable in positions and Orsolini is better than Berardi right now. Rovella's too high. I like that. I like this order a lot. Lookman could be higher, to be fair, but after what he's done in the league. But I just think Sule's raw ability and his ceiling is higher. I'd rather have Sule in my team, to be honest. I think Lookman is a great system player, like a lot of Atalanta players are. And then I think I'll have it like that. Here is like, I think Camarda I'll put there. But he's so young, but I think his talent sets him apart. I think the ordering in 16th to 20 is very tough. I mean, that's like all subjective. I'll go Caprile safe. Zaniolo, the fact that I have Camarda over Zaniolo is kind of crazy. Zaniolo's supposed to be the main Italian talent for the years to come. That's fine for now. Orban, I like where he is. Friendrop, I like. I quite like this order. I'm quite happy with this. I am happy with this. I'm going to leave it like this, I think. Or else I'm going to go insane. Let me know in the comment section, boys, what would you change? Would you have nominated different players for different clubs? Of course, this is just subjective. This is just my opinion. It's not the correct opinion. So comment below what you changed. Like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're so close to 10k subs. Share it to some friends. And I'll see you boys in the next one.